Yeah, so once you're on this home page after you've created the account, you'll see this button in the top right that says plus new game. So that's how we're going to create our new game, okay? So just go ahead and click that. And it's going to take you to this kind of page, okay? So just click edit game and you'll get to this page. So this is where you're going to create your game and everything. So if you're behind at any point, I sent a link to a YouTube playlist in the Zoom chat, and that's what we're basing this off of. So just go ahead and try to find the stuff in the YouTube playlist if you're lost. So when it takes you to this screen, go ahead and click empty project because we're gonna be starting. Huh? Someone say something.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead and click empty project and click OK. So now this is your basic screen. And what do we do with this screen? So the first thing that I sort of want to do, okay, let's say that, well, the first is like, if you look at this, it's sort of like a grid, okay? So there's a grid of all these different things, and it's like they're on an XY coordinate system. You have an X coordinate, which is like how far it is from the center in the right, left direction, and you have the Y coordinate, which is top and bottom. You may have learned that in math class. And if you click anywhere, you can see all this stuff that says create and whatnot. So the first thing let's do is let's try and change the background color. Okay, that's the very first basic step that we're going to try to do. So just go ahead, and once you're on the screen, click game levels at the bottom. And you should see this thing right here. So this is the background color for the whole level. So if you just click that, you can drag here and you can select any color that you want. So what we're going to be making today is sort of like a platform game. So if you don't know what that is, a platformer or a platform game is something like Super Mario Bros, for example, where it's like a sideways view of the world, like 2 dimensions, and you're just walking around trying to beat each level. So that's what we're sort of going to try to accomplish today. And
what were we supposed to do? I missed it.
okay, are you on the screen already? The grid screen?
Yeah, I'm on the screen, but I don't know what to do again.
Yeah, so just go to the bottom, click game levels, okay? And then once you're there, click this color and make the background color whatever you want. Yeah, so since this is a platformer game, we're gonna go with a nice sky blue. So that's just my opinion. Doesn't matter, you can make it whatever you want, really. So now let's also look at some of the settings for this. This is just like basic settings about the whole game. You can name the game if you want. And what I'm gonna call it is Jumpy Adventures. And I'm gonna call it a tutorial because I'm teaching you guys how to do it.
How do you name can you tell that again?
Yeah, so once you're done setting the background color, go ahead to the bottom right and click settings. Saloni, can you send the links and stuff again? Because I think we have some people joining. Thanks. So yeah, go to the bottom right, click settings, and then you're gonna see this thing where it says name, this little box. So you can type in whatever name you want there.
Yeah.
And then once you're done with that, you can also adjust the width. So the width is like how wide the level is. So if you want to make it wider, you can just drag this and make it even bigger. So I'm gonna make the width all the way to 20. Yeah, let's just say 20. Okay, I'm gonna drag it. I'm gonna make it 20. And the height, I'm gonna keep it the same. Okay. This part isn't really that important. You can make it whatever you want, but just maybe you can follow along with this part.
Is it okay if we can make like the full screen?
Yeah, sure. You can make the full screen if you want. I'm not sure if it goes that big, but you can try.
How do you make it wider and taller again?
So go to the bottom right where it says settings, and you can drag the width thing to make it wider or the height thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So while you're getting caught up with that, now let's think about what we want to actually do. So if you want a game, like I said, this is going to be a platformer game. So we're going to have a ground to run on. You know what? Actually, maybe this will go better. So while you guys are picking the width and everything, maybe what I can do is I can show you the end result so you can have an idea of what we're going to do. I'm going to go to my game. Yeah?
How do you change the background again? I forgot.
So go to the very bottom where it says game levels. You should see a menu at the bottom there.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let me just actually show you a little demo of what the game is going to be. So I'll go ahead and play it. So this is the game that you guys are going to make by the end of this session, okay? You're just going to jump around, you can collect coins, and if you step on spikes, you take health damage, and it restarts the level if you take too much health damage. So yeah, this is the general idea. So if you want to make something like this, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add objects to the thing, right? We're going to have to add some stuff like blocks that represents the ground. We're going to have to, you know, add a bunch of other objects. So to do that, shoot. Yeah. So to do that, we have to click on the screen, anywhere on the grid. And if you left click, like click with the left part of the mouse button, you're going to see this pop up. And you should click create. So now this is going to ask you what you want to create. So the very first thing let's create, let's change. If you look here where it says type, that's going to be the pretty much the name of this type of block. Okay. So let's call this grass, because we want to have something to walk on the ground. So we're going to call it grass. And if you click edit sprite after that, okay, so yeah, just click edit sprite, the image kind of thing there. And this whole drawing thing is going to pop up. So if you don't know what a sprite is, if you worked in Scratch before, you might have heard the word before. But a sprite is pretty much just the visual, like the appearance of an object in a game. Okay? So when you think sprite, just think like appearance. So once I made the object, I'm going to click edit sprite over there. And I can really draw anything I want here. And that's going to be what this object looks like in the game. But I don't really have the time to draw a whole object right now, right? So what you can do is you can click browse over here. So click browse. And now if you just click select category, you can see that there's a bunch of categories of different sprites that are already available in FlowLab. So you just have to select one of these.
What did you click?
So once I was on the sprite screen, by clicking edit sprite, I clicked browse. So that lets me browse existing sprites.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So now what I want to do is I want to go to pixel blocks, because I want this to be like a block thing, right? Like I want it to be grass that I can walk on. And the very first thing, I'm just going to go ahead and click on that, okay? So I clicked browse, I clicked the very top thing, and I clicked pixel blocks, and I clicked the grass. So you can see here, this looks sort of like the grass in Minecraft or whatever, right? So this is just going to be the thing that the player walks on. It's going to be what's on the ground. So if I click OK, you can see that now the way this block looks, it's changed. It looks different now, right? So it looks like grass instead of the block that it had before. So I renamed it to grass and I changed the sprite. And that's pretty much all for this little thing. And now if I click and hold this, I can drag it anywhere on the screen that I want, anywhere inside the level. So since this is the level, we want everything to be inside here. So remember we made this like a certain amount wide and a certain amount tall by using the settings tab. So I want basically all the grass and everything to be in here. So if I go ahead and drag this to the corner, what I can do now is I can click on it, the same like left click as before, just click on it, and I can clone it. So if you know what the word clone means, it's like you're making a copy of the thing, right? So if I clone it, then I can just click and drag it all over the ground. And I can do really whatever I want. I can make it over here. I can, just clone it as however I want. It's just going to make a copy of the same grass block. So once I'm done cloning this grass block, and again, to add the blocks, you can either just click anywhere or you can click and drag. And that's
How did you get that grass block again?
Okay, so to get the grass block again, I clicked on the screen, I clicked create, and to make the grass block, I named it grass, and I clicked edit sprite. And if you remember earlier, I just found the grass block. I clicked browse and I found the grass block, what it looks like in there. So yeah, so now's a good time to mention the delete thing. So, sorry. So if you hover over any of these blocks and you press the backspace button, that's going to let you delete it if you don't want it there, okay? So I'm just going to hover over all the ones I don't want, like make sure it's blue on the outside, and then I can just backspace, press the backspace key on my keyboard, and it'll delete it. So, like, is everyone sort of caught up with making the grass? Any questions? So, if no one is behind, then that's good. If you have any doubts at any point, like some people are doing, just unmute and okay.
How do you clone it again?
So once you have like a single grass block, just click on any grass block, and then you can click clone, this button here, and then you can place it anywhere you want, or you can drag it around.
So is it okay if you make it outside of the box?
Yeah. So it's okay if you can make it outside, but when you're playing the game, you're only gonna see pretty much what's in the blue thing. But once the player moves to the right, they can see the rest of the stuff. That's the general idea of it. But when you start off, you want to have everything inside the blue box. So,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
How do you extend the bigger box to like a rectangle size?
Oh, the blue rectangle, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you click settings in the bottom right, and you just can drag these things. You can adjust height to make it taller, but I kept it at 10, and you can adjust width to make it wider. But you don't need the width to cover like all the blocks you have here. Okay, it's fine. You don't need the width to cover all the blocks. You can add blocks outside. This is just what the player is mainly going to see. It's like the height and width of what the player is going to see.
I forgot how.
Wait, did you ask something else?
I forgot to put out the blocks. Like, how do you keep the blocks?
What do you mean keep the blocks? Like you
Like
delete it?
the grass, you know, like those grass.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you just click on the block and you click clone, if that's what you're asking. Because once you click clone, you can like make a bunch of copies of it.
Like other, instead of the grass blocks, like other.
How do you make other blocks?
Yeah, like other blocks, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Not like make other blocks, like add other blocks.
Yeah. So we covered the grass box now, and now we're gonna talk about how you can add other stuff. So, we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing we want to do is actually, before we start making other blocks, we want to. Well, this is a game, right? We need a player. So we want the player to have some sort of character on the screen that they can move around, like jump and run and everything. Okay. So once you've added a bunch of grass blocks, it doesn't really matter for now. You can just click on the screen and we can create another object. So just click on the screen and click create. And this, we're in the type box here, we're just going to type in player. Okay. So type in player, and then you can click edit sprite again, because we want the player to not just look like a block, right? We want it to look like an actual player. But before we actually click edit sprite, go to physics. Okay, so when you open this, there's the thing on the bottom right that says physics. So now we're gonna click movable over here, okay? Because we want the player to be able to move around. So click movable, make sure that's checked. And that's all for this one. So go back to properties again and click edit sprite. So now this is where we can make the player look, cool, instead of just being a block. So again, we want to just use something that they've already made for us. So go to the bottom left, and here, again, you're going to see the thing browse. So click browse, and again, click the select category thing at the top. And for this one, we don't want it to be a block, right? We want it to be a character. So go over here and select this thing that says pixel cars. Well, the car thing or care thing stands for character. So just click that. And if you just click the very first thing, you can see that our player is going to be a little dude with a red looking nose, okay? So this is our player. So just again, click browse once you click edit sprite. Click select category. Go to pixel cares. and just click the very first guy there. So click OK. So now you can see that this guy looks like a player. So just put him anywhere over here. Okay. And I mean, it's not really a player if you can't move it around and do stuff like that. Okay. So you have to click the player. So once you make the player, we have to edit the behaviors of the player. We have to make sure that they can move around and everything. So to give you a few seconds to catch up, any questions so far? Is anyone lost? All right, awesome.
How do you
Where did you
delete?
get the character again? Where'd you get the character?
Okay,
'Cause
so
I can't seem to find it when I'm browsing.
okay, so I clicked Pixel Cares.
Oh, nice. I got it.
All right, awesome. Someone else had a question?
How do you delete a block?
So just hover over the block, like hover over it with your mouse, and it's gonna turn blue. And then just click the backspace key on your keyboard. Okay, that should have worked, right?
What should you name the character?
Just name them player, because that's gonna work for now. And this name is more important when we get into programming, how the character works and everything. Okay. For now, it may not be as important. So yeah, just name it player, and this is gonna be under the type. So now we have to edit the player and make it so that when you press the different keys on the keyboard, they move around. Okay. So let's click on the player, and let's click edit because you want to change the character. And if you go to the top right, you're going to see behaviors. And this is where pretty much all the magic happens. This is where you can like make the character, do a bunch of cool stuff. They're not just a random appearance on the screen. So what we're going to do now, you can see on the left that we have a bunch of things that we can click, and it's sort of like Scratch, except the different thing is that this is sort of made like a circuit board. It's not really a circuit board, but it works like a circuit board where you have input and output. And you guys will see what I mean in a second. So the very first thing we want to do with the character is we want to make it so that when somebody hits the keyboard, well, they press the right key or the left key, the character is going to move right or left. So on the left, you're going to see this thing open, and it's going to say keyboard right here. So just click on that keyboard and just drag it anywhere on the screen. So again, click keyboard and just drag it on the screen somewhere. And once you've selected something that says keyboard, just click on it. Like regularly, just click on it. And you're going to see this thing that says change key. So we want the key here to be the right arrow key. Yeah. So to get to the behaviors page, okay, I'll do it again. You just click on the player that you have on the screen, click edit, and go to behaviors over here, the top right. So yeah, so we have a keyboard thing in here, and we want to click that, and we want to change the key to the right arrow key. So click change key, okay?
Again, how do you create the player?
Oh, how do you create the player? Like, how do you find the appearance for the player, or how do you create them?
The
Oh,
appearance.
okay, the appearance, yeah. So if you're already on the edit sprite page, just go to browse, click browse, and in the category over here, select Pixel Cares. So that stands for characters. And then if you click the first one, it's going to be the very first one on here. And click
Pixel
on
what?
CHARS.
Pixel chars.
Yeah, I guess chars or cares or whatever. So yeah, so once you have this keyboard thing on the screen, click change key, and then on your keyboard, not on the screen, but on your keyboard, press the right arrow key. So that's gonna make it so that whatever this keyboard thing is, whatever it does, is when the right arrow key is pressed. So that's when this is gonna be activated.
What?
So click this keyboard thing and click change key. And on your keyboard, click the right arrow key. So on your keyboard, press that key down after you click change key. So then that's gonna make it so that this thing is activated whenever you press the right arrow key. And we also wanna make it so that this is repeating. And what that means is when you hold down the right arrow key, it's gonna keep going and going. So what do we wanna do after we click the right arrow key? We want the player to move right? Well, to move right, you have to make sure that the velocity, so velocity means speed, pretty much, how fast it's going. You want the velocity to be moving to the right, okay? So velocity is a number, right? So velocity is, well, speed. And speed has to have a number to tell you how fast that something is going. So what we're going to do now is go to logic and math over here, the second thing in this category. And once you're at logic and math, click number. Just click that number thing right here. It's going to pop up on the screen. And you can drag it over here. And this number is pretty much going to represent how fast you want the player to go when you're holding down the right arrow key. So if you want them to go really fast, you want this number to be high. If you want them to go a little slower, then you want it to be low. So let's say you want the player to go at a speed of 10 when you press down the right arrow key, okay? Oh, how do you get the letter? So again, go to triggers over here on the left and click keyboard. That's how you get the letter on the screen. So click number, okay? And this is gonna pop up on the screen. And now if you click on this, this is gonna tell you the value that you set it to over here. So you can just set this to any number that you want. And the higher the number, the faster the player is gonna go when you click the right arrow. Well, we haven't set up the speed yet, but this is the second step to that. So let's say I want the player to go at a speed of 6. Okay, so this number 6 is going to be whatever the speed is when this keyboard button is pressed. And again, if you didn't do it already, make sure you click change key here and then press the right arrow key on your keyboard. So far we have keyboard and we have a number, but we still don't have the actual speed of the player, right? That's what we want to change when the keyboard is pressed. So we want the velocity of the player to be set to a certain amount. So go to this thing that says properties, okay? So on the left, click this properties thing here, and then you can click velocity. So again, velocity is just pretty much speed. This is gonna tell, if you pass a number to this, this is gonna tell you the speed of the player. Well, it's gonna set the speed of the player. So now we're ready to connect everything, okay? So again, I went over to the left and I clicked velocity and it popped up on the screen and I dragged it over here. But none of this stuff is connected yet. I just configured it. So when you click down over here, so down means that—
How do you get to the velocity thing again?
Yeah, so go to the left, click properties, okay? It's gonna be one of the labels, and just click velocity.
Top of materials velocity. So
Yeah, it's right above materials, below animation. So go to logic and math and click the number, and over here, you're gonna see another number pop up. And you can change the value to whatever you want, except this time it has to be negative, because you want the velocity to be negative, right? If it's going backwards on the x axis, then it's gonna be negative instead of positive. Because if you click the left, you want it to be backwards. So I'm gonna make the value -6. So it's gonna go just as fast, except it's gonna go backwards. So again, just go to logic and math, click number, and make it a negative number. And then same thing, go to properties. And actually, you don't need to do that. You can just use the same velocity block here. So now once you have the number, and it's a negative number, go to down, and again, drag that in, just as before. And then now once you have the number, go to out, and then drag it to the same X. So what's happening here is, whichever keyboard button you press, it's gonna go to a certain number, and that number is gonna be set as the X velocity of the player. So it's velocity again means speed. So that's gonna set the speed of the player in the left-right direction. So now a lot of you guys are trying to make an up key. So you had some good attempts, but it seems like some of you guys had clicked the wrong property there. So we start off the same as before. You go to triggers, and you want this event to be triggered by a keyboard press. And in this case, the press is going to be the up arrow, right, guys? So click keyboard, click change key, and press the up arrow. So click change key, press the up arrow. And this one, you don't want it to be repeating. Because if it jumps, then if you click the jump thing, then you don't want it to keep going forever and ever, right? If you hold down the jump button. So don't check repeating on that one. But make sure you check repeating on the left one. Sorry. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a similar thing. Yeah. So what we want to do now is click animation over here. Go to properties and click animation. So that's gonna make this thing pop up, and it should probably already have the walking animation enabled at the bottom. It should be saying walk or walking or whatever you called it. So once you have that walking animation, just drag it over here, and you have to connect a few things. Okay, it's gonna look a bit confusing, except just you can think about what you want to happen. So what you want to happen is that when you press either the left or the right key, you want the player to start like playing the walking animation. So drag down on the left arrow key to start on the animation. So on the left arrow key thing right here, drag down to start. So that means that when the key is pressed down, it's going to start the animation. And the same animation is also going to apply for the right arrow key. So drag down to the right animation over here. And well, when the animation is going to start playing, we want to stop it at some point, right? So when the player's standing still, we don't want them to keep playing the walking animation. So over here, where we have the up on the thing, this means that when you release the keyboard, when the key goes back up after you press it down. So that means that whenever you're not pressing the left and right arrow key, you want the animation to stop. So on both keys, drag the up to stop. So from the left, drag up to stop, and on the right, drag up to stop. So again, that just means that when the keyboard key is not pressed, you just want the animation to stop. You don't want it to keep playing. So a few minutes for all y'all to catch up, or more like a few seconds. So far we have the left arrow key, right arrow key, the keyboard for jumping. Let me continue recording. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the obstacles we're gonna add now are spikes. So if you touch spikes, you're pretty much in big trouble. So we wanna have those as obstacles, and then we wanna have collectible items, so stars. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the spikes first. So just ignore them because they're already on my screen. I already did this little thing. So just click anywhere on the screen and click create. And you're gonna name this one spikes. So then you click edit sprite, and we want to pick something that looks like spikes. It's pretty dangerous, right? So you want to pick something that looks scary. So just again, click browse, and I think you can go to objects. So it's going to say pixel objects. That's the name of the category. And just scroll down until you find some things that look like spikes. So you should find them here. Just click that and it's going to pop up on the screen. So these are the spikes. And go ahead and click OK. So now you have an object that looks like spikes. And well, I already have this there, so I'll just delete it later. So again, make sure that this is the is solid thing is checked. So that means the player can't just pass through it. And yeah, that's pretty much all. So once you have that thing set up, you can just click on it and you can clone it. So once you click clone, remember that you can just duplicate this object. You can put it wherever you want. And you can put it in places where you think the player shouldn't go. Like if you have a little thing where the player can fall, you should probably put spikes there, right? So the player doesn't fall down. And if you have somewhere like under a bridge or something they need to jump over, anything like that. So just again, clone the spike. Just click clone and just put it wherever you think it should go. Just click anywhere, drag it, or whatever. Is everyone caught up? Are there any problems? All right, cool. So any problems, just speak up, okay? All good. All right. So yeah, once you put down the spikes wherever you think they should go, what we should do now is go back to the player, click edit, and let's go back to our beloved behaviors window. So I have a lot of code here, guys. Don't get intimidated or anything. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little collision. So a collision, if you don't know, I mean, a collision is when you collide with something, when you touch it or bump into it. And when the player bumps into the spikes, what we want is that the player's health is damaged. So what we need to do now is configure the collision with the spikes and also do something to make the player have health. So go to the triggers thing and click collision. So this thing should pop up on the screen. And again, this is in the behaviors window. So just click player, click edit, and go to behaviors. And once you have this little collision thing from triggers, just click on the collision. And we want the type of object here to be spikes. So we want the spikes to be the thing that is selected here. So this means that when it collides with the spikes, we want it to do something. So now what we are going to do is we're going to do a little health thing. So usually in games, you have something like a health bar or a health number. And once it goes to 0, you have to restart the game. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to have two numbers here. One of them is the damage that the player is going to take when they get hit by a spike. And one of them is going to be a health counter that the player has. So let's go over to logic and math and let's get a number. So the first number that we want is the damage that the player is going to take when they hit a spike. So again, click collision, click spikes, and then go to logic and math and click number if you are behind. So once you have a number, click the number, and we want the player to have, we want the health of the player to be subtracted by 1 every time that they hit a spike. So we're going to have to take this number, -1, and then the reason we have a -1 here is because we're going to have to add a -1 to the health every time that the player is hitting a spike. Okay? So get a number